So the second Joker movie released over the weekend, and the public's perception of it has been very controversial, with it majorly underperforming compared to the first movie, and the internet had a lot to say about it. Obviously, major spoiler warnings ahead. If you're not interested in seeing spoilers, then you've been warned. Discussing film tweets out, Joker 2 earns $20 million in the film's domestic opening day, below The Flash and The Marvel's opening day numbers, similar to Morbius, now tracking for 35 mil to 42 mil opening weekend, almost 3 times lower than the first film. George says, the best joke of the movie is that it exists at all. Nita says, it's by no means the best movie out there, but it's far from being the worst thing some are trying to make it out to be. January James says, they lost a lot of interest in this when they decided to make it a musical. Joker to joke. Jay responds, plot still would have been shit if they talked it. Just saying. And James says, I believe it, but I at least might have given it a chance if it hadn't been a musical theme. Cassandra McDonald tweets out, they made the Joker get gay gang and then killed him. No spoiler warning because fuck Todd Phillips. Don't go see it. He also kisses a dude and gets played by a 304. Martin Lemmy responds, the movie isn't for us. It's for trans intersectional amputees that don't speak English or use toilets. Owen Benjamin says, wait, WTF? And Cassandra says, not even kidding. Noelle says, best spoiler I've ever seen. Not seeing it. Dr. Tororu says, P. Diddy wrote the gang scene. Nirvana Clay responds, they say money is the incentive behind everything, but there must be something else going on in Hollywood. They repeatedly make things they know the fans of a franchise won't like, despite the fact that this leads to substantial financial loss. CC tweets out, Joker 2 is just another case of if you get it, you get it, and if you don't, you don't. And I feel bad for those who don't get it. Thank you. Jan responds, so like all the professional critics? This is literally the type of slop that's made for critics and Oscars, and even they hated it. I'm glad your Matt tweets out a clip of Joker 2, which unfortunately I won't be able to play for copyright reasons, but he captions it, I'm doing this so none of you have to waste your hard-earned money to watch this horrible film. This is the ending to the god-awful Joker 2. Enjoy. And Ian Miles Chong quote tweets him and says, so here's how the new Joker movie ends. He gets gangard and then when he's walking away, he gets shanked by another guy in prison. Oh, and all of it was a figment of his imagination. It was a dream all along. Embarrassing. Just pretend it doesn't exist. Reddit is so cool yo-yo posts on the R Movie Critics subreddit with the title, Joker 2 is crap. Joker 1 was amazing. Joker 2 might have ended Joaquin Phoenix's career. They totally destroyed the movie. A shitload of singing, a crap plot, just absolutely ruined it. Gaga's acting was great. She could do well in other movies, but why did they make this movie? Why did they do it how they did? Why couldn't they keep the same formula as part 1? Don't waste your time or money seeing Joker 2. You'd enjoy 2 hours of going to the gym and taking a nap versus watching the movie. Unfair Strategy responds, destroy Phoenix's career, maybe a little hyperbolic. AAA list actors don't lose their careers over a poorly reviewed movie. Slimmy Boy says, agreed. If this was the case, Adam Driver would be buried for Megalopolis. Lord of Morgor says, watching Megalopolis and Joker 2 back to back has caused me to suffer some sort of medical condition. Any suggestions on a palate cleanser would be nice. House Tyrell says, Wild Robot, trust. No Signal 6969 says, I honestly don't understand who this film was made for. And Fake Astronaut responds, executives who thought they'd make $1 billion again. Zelda Fan says, I disagree. I think it's made for Todd Phillips. Can see him and Phoenix being given more free reign and doing this. No More Ausla says, probably the worst unnecessary crash grab sequel I've ever seen. And Random Sargasm says, I'm not a big fan of musicals with a few exceptions, so I feel absolutely no impetus to witness what looks like an attempted art house movie, but is probably an A-list celebrity train wreck. What the fuck were they thinking? Additionless posts on the R Joker subreddit and says, Joker 2 ending spoilers. Did that ending leave anyone else quite pissed off and a bad taste in your mouth? And Corn Does Corn responds, this is my take. I think this film does a great job of honoring fans who got what the first movie was trying to say, while pissing those off who instead decided to idolize Fleck like the mob at the end of the first movie. The sequel revolves around the idea of the shadow of the Joker growing too large for Fleck to handle. It swallows him whole. This is alluded to in the end of the first movie and in the stellar animated start of this film. The film even includes the song We Three, My Echo, My Shadow, and Me, presenting the central dichotomy dichotomy. Trichotomy? Who is Arthur? Is he this looming shadow, this darker force? Is he the legacy that his violent actions reverberate? Or is he simply a nobody? A forgotten man who slipped through the ever-widening cracks of a neglectful, cold society? I think the musical numbers really drive these themes home, especially the courtroom scene. Throughout the sequel, we see him exploited by the prison guards who use him for entertainment, from the protesters and terrorists who use him to push their agenda, and by Quinn, who uses him to reach for grandeur and share her delusions with, where the title comes from, and drops him the instant he no longer lives up to his shadow. It's a critique on how society perpetuates violence through sensationalism, romanticism, sexualization, and mythos, on Columbiners, on incels, on fascists. It's a critique on itself, on how it, as a mega successful box office hit, glorified the Joker's flagrant violence so much that many forgot about the broken, downcast Fleck. And in the end, Fleck is killed by someone who will live up to the shadow, someone who's more willing to take on the role of the Joker as we know it. Edit. Thanks for the gold, kind stranger. I had some additional thoughts. I think that Harley is supposed to be the audience stand-in, and that's especially why so many people are going to be upset with this take on the sequel. Just like her, audiences wanted to see Phoenix's Joker become the clown prince of crime, to fulfill the cycle of violence, to contend with Batman. And when we're shown that Arthur Fleck is a human being, like her, some of us are disappointed. He didn't live up to our Joker, and just like her, we stop watching. We leave the theater. We leave awful reviews. Our Folie loses its dance partner. It's almost like Phillips predicted this reaction. I think the in-universe made-for-TV film that's constantly brought up represents the first movie, and it is just as controversial in-universe as the first movie was in ours. Zuchi then posts this Reddit post on Twitter and says, "One of the best takes I've seen on Joker 2. And Ollie responds, "The movie was meant to suck. It's such a bad way to justify it being a disappointment, Lamau. Like, people wanted Joker, dude. The whole point at the end of the first film was that Arthur basically died and Joker was all that's left in the man. Like, just stop." Andrew Braitsky responds, "If it takes a 1,000 word essay to explain why a $200 million big budget movie about a comic book villain is good, it's literally not good." And Matt Overmark replies, "Or people just watch too many dumb Marvel movies with a way too predictable narrative." Daniel Roberts replies, "I'm leaning towards this being a masterpiece, honestly." Mello says, "The reception to this film is fascinating to me. Love all the discourse." Monster Reactions tweets out, "Just rewatched Joker 2 and I'm sorry for not subscribing to the general consensus, but I absolutely loved every second of it. The vision is absolutely crystal clear, and it's only incomprehensible to musical haters, Lady Gaga antis, and physically disgusting comic book incels. The movie is so brilliantly executed with such profound, well-chosen songs, to the point that you can understand the narrative through the lyrics alone. From the very first sequence to the very last still, the commentary is there. It's just not there for everybody to grasp it. Profound direction, cinematography for the gods, acting so brilliant that it catches you off guard, in a narrative so important and yet anti-crowd pleasing, to the point that it feels impossible not to admire the bravery of it." Monster Reactions then tweets out, "Joker 2 is the worst sequel ever. Fuck them musicals," and attaches this picture of someone's chin. Gryffindor says, "Congrats, you like a universally recognized bad movie. That makes you so cool and different. Congrats." Proper Labels responds, "You're weak if you don't consume corporate slop is a hell of a take, comrade." Fearbuck tweets out, "Kai Cenat sounds off on Joker 2.
Oh my fucking gosh! Things first. I take my black ass down to the movie theater and I go get a ticket for Joker 2. First of all, it didn't even say Joker 2. It said Joker la some other shit that I didn't understand. So that was the first red flag. Second red flag, that shit was fucking ass! Nigga! Give me my money back, bro! Nigga, I went to go watch Joker, nigga. When I say that shit was ass, nigga, that shit was so fucking ass coming off the first one, nigga. Nigga, the first one was so good. Let me tell you, honest opinions on it, okay? The first one was so good. I don't care. I don't give a fuck what you guys say. Like, it was good. Okay? Nigga, the second one, I'm gonna go ahead and save y'all the money. Do not go watch that shit, chat. No, real shit. That shit give High School Musical rated R vibes, nigga. That's what it's giving, nigga. High School Musical rated R version, nigga. That shit is ass, bro. I'm gonna be honest. Now listen, the scenery of it, the storytelling behind it would be okay. It's okay. Like, it's okay. You feel me? But other than that, ass. Like, the aesthetic of the shit, fire. But all it did, bro, that was a slow ass movie. I didn't like it. I don't give a fuck, nigga. I don't care, nigga. I don't care. Rated out of 10, word to my mother. That shit was a fucking 4 out of 10, nigga. What was y'all rated, chat? Word to my mother. That shit was a 4 out of fucking 10, nigga.
4KT responds, worst experience ever, and attaches this image and says, Joaquin Phoenix was not the Joker. The real Joker was me who decided to watch this. Tim Pool tweets out, Joker 2 is bad fanfiction. It is not real. It cannot hurt you. MF Free America says, all Jokers went downhill after Heath Ledger died. Hollywood Handle tweets out, Joker 2 receives a D on CinemaScore, the lowest ever for a comic book film. Arenado quote tweets Hollywood Handle and says, Sony realizing that Madam Web got a better CinemaScore than Joker 2. Adam Walsh responds, we came into Madam Web knowing it would suck. This was a surprise. Mystery Grove tweets out, Joker 2, and attaches this image that says, school bully not so tough since being molested. Riv responds, why would the guards R him? I don't understand. Zira says, they just wanted his insane clussy. The Kino Corner tweets out, I'm watching Joker 2 now. I'll tell you all what I think of it in a couple hours, and then follows it up by saying, 2.5 hours of Tom Phillips sitting in front of a camera saying, I'm sorry for making Joker, would have been less boring than this. Punished Dr. Harford says, damn, that bad? And Kino Corner responds, I was so bored for the entirety of the film. Discussing Film tweets out, Warner Bros. Declined to test screen Joker 2 to audiences at all before the film was complete. Lullaby responds, let's just act like this movie never existed. Tyler Duran responds, WB knew it was ass. Harv says, they made a huge mistake with that. Slatsism quote tweets Discussing Film and says, this makes more sense when you understand that this sequel wasn't meant to do well at the box office. It was intended to be a humiliation ritual to destroy the movie's legacy, as punishment for it resonating with the wrong people. Yeater responds, remember when the media screamed that the first movie would inspire a wave of mass shooters at theaters, and then seemed disappointed it never happened? Slatsism says, Petra's Farm remembers. Ulysses the Revengeful says, disenfranchised white men who tends towards populism/nationalism like the movie? Shut it down. Engage the neoliberal thrusters now. And Slatsism replies, but see, I even think that is a bit of simplistic read. The shitlibs who decreed Joker as an incel elegy and the incels who claimed it was exclusively theirs were two sides of the same retarded id-pol coin. In reality, if you suspend the desire to see yourself represented on the screen in a literal sense, the movie could resonate with absolutely anybody who has ever felt powerless and beaten down by a society that didn't give a shit about whether you lived or died. I brought my mother to see Joker and she almost cried after Fleck killed the Wayne Enterprise boys. She gave the movie a one-woman standing ovation at the end. She didn't need to see Fleck as a woman or as someone of her race or age to relate to him. It resonated with her because she intimately understood the feeling of a tiny bit of release from impotent hopelessness he felt. That's great cinema. Dennis responds, Joker is a shit movie for simple folks who think they're fans of cinema. Watch anything written or directed by Paul Schrader instead, the master of crafting that individual loner psych profile in film. Slatsism says, this is like when someone says I like Taco Bell and then someone else gives them a lecture on how it isn't authentic Mexican food. Yes, there are better movies, but this one can also be enjoyed. Texas Bulldog replies to Slatsism's original post and says, I feel like I'm the only person who thinks the original Joker movie sucked. It was way too long, too boring, and the main character was creepy AF. I hated everything about it. The Quartering tweets out, Joker 2 tried to own the toxic fans and it totally blows. Do not see this movie. It is legendarily bad. Styx responds, I worried they would butcher it. The first one was great. The Real Dubs tweeted out in April of 2023, about a year and a half ago, and said, Joker 2 will likely be 2.5 hours of the filmmakers reimagining the titular character as a way of apologizing for him being relatable and cool to young men in the first film. It's what the Batman's Riddler was. Capybara Nest tweets out, the fact that Joker 2 is actually bombing is so incredible. Opening weekend for a sequel to a comic book movie that made over $1 billion looks like this. and attaches this image of the booked seating for Joker 2. Meme Bastard responds, "Everyone found out what they did to Joker. Nobody wants to see that." Indie Meon responds, "Word of mouth is a powerful thing." Cerebral Paul says, "The problem is it's not really a comic book movie. The Joker was more of a movie about a man's descent into madness, and it simply had the Joker name slapped on it." Manny Max says, "I think they didn't anticipate how strongly the core audience of the first movie would react to even a hint of musical. Interest just vanished." Pointless Hub says, "Joker 2 giving itself some dumb French subtitle like it was the next great art piece, only to bomb at the box office, is the funniest possible outcome." And that's what the internet had to say so far. See you next episode.